Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Major escalation and development in Ukraine. Dangerous for all of us, not only for the Ukrainians or Americans. And that is, the Americans secretly deployed in Ukraine their long-range missiles, ATACMS, that go up to about 300 kilometers. And the Ukrainians report that they used it against the Russians. If I remember correctly, the supply of ATACMS missile systems were considered a red line for the Russians, or by the Russians. So I wonder how will the Russians respond to this. Now remember, ATACMS are from surface to surface. They're not air to surface as Jesus Christ, as Storm Shadow missiles were, or Scalp, which is the French version of Storm Shadow. Remember, those ones were going to about almost the same distance, but the same range, but they had to be released from an airplane. So they had an airplane attached to an airplane, a platform, go in the air, release it, and then go away. But while it was in the air, the Russians could identify the target inside Ukraine and potentially eliminate it. So this is a problem for the Russians. Let's see how the Russians will react to this. I have here 4 articles discussing this. It's not a big deal because I'm going to use just a title for 1 or 2. So this is from Ukrainska Pravda today, October 17th, 2023. US secretly supplied Ukraine with ATACMS it used to strike air bases. Ukrainian forces used long-range ATACMS missiles for strikes on 2 air bases in the occupied cities of Berdyansk and Luhansk on the night of 16 to 17 of October. According to Wall Street Journal, over the last few days, the US has secretly sent a small number of missiles to Ukraine. I told you that analogy with a small number. You can have a rapist and he's just going to do it just a few times, just a small number. Still a rape, but just a small number of ATACMSs. So take it easy. Just a few times, just 20 pumps. I'm going to do it 20 pumps. That's it. Not 50,000, just 20. The sources do not disclose other details, a small number of missiles, but the modification of ATACMS received by Ukraine was said to have a range of about 160 kilometers. You don't believe these guys. I think the ATACMS missiles can fit into HIMARS, if I remember correctly. But even though if I look at this, I'm not certain that's what it is. But let's say they can be fit into the HIMARS. I do not know. I don't even gonna look for them. The fact is, these guys have it and they used it. So later, the media platform Noel Reports posted a photo of missile wreckage on Twitter X that indicates that it was probably the MGM-140A ATACMS Block 1 or AI. So M39A1 type. Here's what they show. So, earlier on October 17, Ukraine's Special Operations Forces confirmed the strike on air bases in the temporarily occupied cities of Berdyansk and Luhansk, which caused the destruction of 9 Russian helicopters with different modifications, an air defense launcher and an ammunition storage point. Okay, well, again, they talk about the UK and France, however, provided Kiev with their Storm Shadow Scalp long-range missile back in summer, which Ukrainian forces have been efficiently using on a temporary occupied territory. So United States basically destroys Russian, because those missiles were operated by the Americans. The Americans are using the justification, the Ukrainian label, to destroy Russian targets. Basically, that's what it is. They practice. They practice war in the name of Ukraine against the Russians. We all know that. Who doesn't know that can give me $20,000 today, and I will give that person back tomorrow $3 million. I'll meet him tomorrow, promise. Cross my heart, hope to never die. So let's go. If you're so naive, then what can I tell you? Russia today. Zelensky reveals secret US long-range missile delivery. Kiev thanked Washington after claiming to have used the missiles against Russia. Ukrainian Zelensky revealed on Tuesday that Ukraine has used US-supplied long-range ATACMS missiles in its conflict with Russia. So the same. And this is what Zelensky says. Today, I'm especially grateful to the United States. Our agreements with President Biden are being implemented, and not with me, the American population, or with Biden, between you guys. And when the Russians are going to hit, they're not going to hit you. They're going to hit all of us. Biden are being implemented, and they are being implemented very accurately. ATACMS have proven themselves, Zelensky said. Well, we'll see if that would happen or not. Again, he says projectiles have a range of up to 190 miles, 305 kilometers. All right, and he says that, but the models supplied to Kiev have a range of about 100 miles, 100 kilometers, the journal responded. These guys are always starting small and end up to do everything. So they start with, hey baby, what's going on today with you? And then they rape the lady. So the next one is, let's go to this. This is not that. This is what I meant. Sputnik, US secretly shipped small number of ATACMS to Ukraine in recent days, reports. So here it is. Okay, good. How will the Russians respond to that? I'm waiting. Maybe they're gonna nuke the guys. The problem is that they know better, because the Russians, I'm not giving them any advice here, but I think the Russians will not nuke the Ukrainians, but go to the source. I think they will go to the source somehow, not to the Ukrainians. Ukrainians are not the source. Ukrainians are just a bullet, right? And everything else is, you got the pistol, and you got the hand, you got the finger, you got the arm, you got the person, the brain, and all that, and so on. So that has to be hit, not the bullet or the whatever. No, Ukraine is just a bullet, let's put it this way. So it says here that Ukraine on Tuesday used army tactical missile systems to strike nearby Russian troops near Lugansk and Berdyansk, making the first use of the US-made long-range missile in the conflict, a US newspaper reported on Tuesday, citing people in the know. All right. Well, they did it. What are you going to do? If you're not going to do anything, then shut the fuck up. That's for the Russians. And we'll see. We'll see. It's a problem because the Russians say that they consider the Ukrainians, which they are, close relatives, cousins, brothers, however we want, genetically and culturally, language, and so on. So yeah, the Ukrainians, if you tell this one, Ukrainian says no, but just look at their language, for instance, and you're going to find out they're so similar that a Ukrainian understands perfectly a Russian and vice versa. So it's not like, for instance, the Romanian and a Portuguese, or Romanian and an Italian. Further than that. I mean, closer than that I'm talking about, between the Ukrainians and the Russians. I know that. So, my friends, what are the Russians going to do? I don't know. They have to stop this unless it works somehow in their interest. Maybe they want to see how they can react when the Americans are sending those missiles. That's a way of, okay, bring it on. That's why you train yourself to destroy us. We train ourselves and adjust by defending from you and see what we lack and what we have already, and we improve. That's a training ground over here for the Americans and for the Americans, French, these guys, and the Russians. Training ground. Unfortunately, this training ground is used by some with other people's lives, not with their lives. No. The Americans are just using it with other people. I can hit you, you can't hit me. But you can hit those guys, but I don't care about those guys. Them. But I don't know, I care about them. That's the way you should look at it, my friends. Not, oh my God, we care so much, yes, Slava Ukrainska, yeah. All right, if they really cared for Ukraine or about Ukraine, this war would have been avoided. But they didn't want to avoid it. They did not want to avoid this war, or whatever it's over there. So, starting from that, they were better off with a war than the alternative. The alternative would have been what? Autonomous Lugansk and Donetsk. That's what, and a buffer zone between this side and the other side, you wouldn't have probably have what's going on in the Middle East right now. You wouldn't probably have a war soon in Far East. But hey, you have to get Iran, you have to get China, North Korea. You gotta kill everyone so you're in charge. That's what it is. They want to be in charge, and the other ones say no, and they can stop them. And they say, yeah, let's see, but I'm gonna use everybody else before you reach me. You're gonna destroy my idiots. My useful idiots. I'm going to use Ukraine, you're going to use Romania, you're going to use Armenia, you're going to use Georgia, you're going to use Palestinians, you're going to use this, Palestinians being used right now by others, but it's a different story. We got Israel over there who's going to solve things in the name of, I don't know exactly what, but maybe to fulfill the prophecies. Who the fuck knows? Yeah, I know, they were attacked and all that, but that's a different story. And the same, they will solve the problems in the Balkans. You'll see, my friend, these guys will sacrifice everybody else, including you and I. All right? And when there's nobody else to sacrifice, they will make a deal. They will cut a deal right there, they will negotiate. Guaranteed. That's the way they are. Thank you very much. You don't believe me? I hope we don't get to see it. But read some history and you're going to see how leaders in general do. Oh, do you think these guys are different? Didn't you see yet how they are? I mean, how many more examples do you need? I mean, if you didn't get so far, you're I don't think you will ever get it, but maybe, I don't know, with a little puck you might get it. The shock therapy. There you go. You remember that one? We used to use it in psychology, in counseling, or no, it was not counseling actually, in therapy. Shock therapy. Remember the shock therapy? Okay, yeah. It didn't work in some cases, but worked in others. Maybe we get to that kind of shock therapy. I'm just kidding. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.